Welcome back to our DevSecOps track at what the fuck is SRE? Some really interesting talks are going on, and our next one is a lightning talk by Eran Bibi, co-founder of Firefly. We won't be able to have a Q&A session at the end of this because it is a lightning talk, but Eran did say he will be staying online to ask any questions, so please feel free to network with him. And Eran, I'll let you
Hi
go.
guys, thank you team for the introduction. And again, my name is Eran, and I'm the co-founder and chief product officer at Firefly. And before that, I was managing the DevOps at Aqua Security. And in general, I'm doing a DevOps for more than 10 years. I really like that profession and really enthusiastic about cloud native technologies. And in today's lightning talk, I will briefly discuss about policy as code concept, and more specifically about OPA, which is a great framework to use to enforce policies in your organization, whether it's a CICD or in your runtime environment. So let's start. So policy as code is basically a concept that was raised a few years ago with the rise of cloud native technologies, basically telling that you can write your own policies and manage them in your source code repositories like Git, and making sure that everything that is running on your cloud, in your cloud ecosystem utilities, is met to your policies. And also it's very easy to create new policies because this is done by a very simple kind of language that anyone without further formal knowledge about policies can contribute. And also the use of the community and sharing policies using open source projects is something that really make policy as code very popular. So the advantages of using policy as code, as I mentioned, you just treat them like any other code. You can maintain them in your source control, get a peer review, and also collaborate with others. And I'm going to talk more specifically about one of the main popular frameworks for policy as code called OPA or OPA. And this is an open source tool that was introduced by a company called Styra, and now become something that is very mature for usage. And OPA framework is using a declarative language called Rego, which I will show you example later on. And it's very easy to understand in a very simple syntax. And you can basically create that kind of policy check against your manifest before running a deployment on your cloud. And this ecosystem of open policy agent is growing, and there is a lot of cool project available for free in the open source community. So I highly recommend to check it out after the talk. If you don't have any experience with OPA, it's very easy to onboard and find the right use case for you to implement in your CI/CD and in your runtime. So OPA, basically the framework is allowing you to get your policy that you mentioned against any kind of JSON based data. So your data can be your Kubernetes manifest, or it can be any other infrastructure as code kind of manifest that you have. You can easily compare it to your policy that you write in Rego, and the OPA engine will give you that kind of output of whether your input is allowed or denied. So it's that simple, and with that you can create a very sophisticated kind of policies. and making sure that everything that is running is basically met the standard that you put on your policy. And I will share example. So this is a code snippet of the syntax of Rego, and this policy is basically checking a Kubernetes deployment object and making sure that this deployment doesn't have containers that running with latest tag. So this piece of code, and you can see that the Rego language is also giving you the option to split kind of strings and even more capability like saving the results into a variable. So it's very lightweight kind of development language, but it's very easy to understand. You can have everything there like array and other types of data that you can use. But eventually this piece of code will run against a deployment manifest and will give you the list whether your deployment running containers with latest tags. So in this case, if you are not allowing such container to run because of a reliability concern, like you don't want to have a new kind of application running because it's mentioned only the latest tag, you can use this kind of policy to make sure and enforce the runtime configuration on your Kubernetes cluster, and it's very easy to understand and use it on your system. Another example of usage of OPA is in your CICD. So in this example, I'm just showing you a pipeline of Terraform, and you can basically take the output of Terraform plan, run OPA engine on the output, and based the policy that you provided, you will get a deny, which is basically block the deployment, or allow, that will continue to the next step of Terraform applying. So in this case, you can make sure like all of the resources that you are going to provision to the cloud have a proper tagging in place, and even check for a security vulnerability and misconfiguration. And of course, this is all based on the policies that you have and put on your OPA engine. But it's very easy to find a built-in kind of ready-to-use set of rules in some of the projects that we already have out there in the community. So in order to have that gating in place, it's just a matter of a few hours of implementing the OPA engine in your CI/CD, and the policies is just waiting for you ready on the open source community, and you can have a better control of the infrastructure that you are deploying on your cloud. Another way of using OPA is with Gatekeeper, which is a very nice project that you can run on your Kubernetes cluster. And by using the Kubernetes admission control, you can have your policy enforced on the runtime. So for example, you can have policies that will say what will be the scale limits of your deployments, and more about security. You can even configure which user in Kubernetes can run operation and segment it for a specific kind of resources. But this is only just few examples of use cases that you can use with Gatekeeper. But the thing is, once you implement that kind of engine in your cluster, you basically can get a various of options how to enforce policies in runtime. And this is a very powerful kind of utilities. So to conclude, this is the key, my key takeaways for you on this lightning talk session. You can have some policies putting in your CI/CD. This is just an example of two projects that I'm using, the Trio and regular.dev, that have built-in manifest to put in your CI/CD using OPA. And also, if you would like to make sure your runtime configuration is protected when you are using Kubernetes, I highly recommend to use Gatekeeper that will allow you to put those in the runtime and making sure that everything is met your policy. That's it, guys. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, I'm here in the chat available, and you can email me to Eran@GoFirefly and keep in touch.
Cool, awesome, Eran. I think we might have time for one quick question, and I'll ask. So I love OPA. I think OPA is great, and even more so Gatekeeper in conjunction with Kubernetes. So how do you see the two tools being used within the SRE and DevOps stream, DevSecOps stream? How can they help even more?
So I think the entire motivation of having security findings in the shift left approach, OPA can be a great framework to implement the security checks in your CICD, so you can make sure a security misconfiguration that eventually can lead to a security vulnerability will be blocked in the CI. And this is just by taking policies that are already, available online and just putting them in your CI/CD. And again, because everything right now is described as code, like the application manifest, the infrastructure, whether you're using Terraform or other framework, it's very easy to create those gating and have a security benefits very early in the supply chain.
Yeah, at least everything should be in code. Let's put it that way. Yeah, thanks, Eran. I think you said you'll be online. People will be able to contact you, and there is a few Q&A questions. Let me see. Yeah, no. Is there a specific use case to use day 3 versus OPA?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
So we do have a question from the just asked now. Is there a specific use case to use DAT3 versus OPA?
So DAT3 is basically behind the scene using OPA, and I'm personally using DAT3 in my CI/CD to make sure the Kubernetes manifest that we are building for our application is having those security checks. OPA, if you're using OPA, you basically have that freedom to create any kind of custom policies that you have by just writing a Rego code. So it's either taking something that is ready for you, or just doing the in-house kind of creating policies and just embed OPA in your CI/CD, like a plain OPA without a third-party vendor doing it for you.
Awesome, thanks a lot. So yeah, feel free to reach out to Eran if you have any more questions. We'll go on a short 5-minute break, and we'll see you back on the hour for our next talk by Anis. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, about cloud native security equipment. Thanks a lot.